Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I am back on the Delta. I haven't been fishing for the last 10 days or so. You guys know I was on a little trip. I'll fill you in on what I did on the trip here in just a minute, but before we do that and before we get into the weekly report, let's take a look at a few of the picks that came in last week. Then we'll get right into the report. All right, here we go. This is the In Deep on the Delta weekly fishing report for October 10th. And what we'll do is I'm going to fill you guys in on where I was the past 10 days. You know, I haven't been on the river, but we'll talk about what I've been doing and what has transpired. For those of you who watch the weekly report, you guys know I talked about going to a family wedding here about 10 days ago. Well, that wedding was planned to be in Asheville, North Carolina, and if you haven't heard yet, Asheville was flooded out. The wedding got canceled, so my wife and I had some plans to tour around the national parks there in Utah and Arizona. So the last couple of weeks we've been in Zion Park and Bryce Canyon in that area. I'll just start off this week's report by saying, you know, that is a beautiful area out there, and if you guys get the chance to go see those national parks, by all means go. It is absolutely breathtaking scenery. Here's the downside of it. There's no water around those places within 100 miles, and there's maybe 200 miles. There's no fishing, period. And I can't tell you guys, for a bass fisherman, it's beautiful out there, but it would be a living hell to live there. I am so thankful to be living here in Central California, and I know a lot of people won't say that, but man, if you're a bass fisherman and you're living somewhere around here, around the Delta, we've got the Delta, and God, when the Delta gets tough, we've got Clear Lake. When Clear Lake's tough, we've got motherlode lakes. I don't care if it's Oroville or it could be Folsom, it could be Comanche, it could be Don Pedro, it could be Maloney's. Count your blessings, guys. You could be in an area where there's not a lake within 100 miles of you. So with that, let's get right into the report. And I'll start off with a report I got from Rob from the Bass Hole. And I want to talk about Rob's team tournaments. He has really revamped his tournament schedule for next year. They're going to have team tournaments, they're going to have pro-ams, they're going to have some evening tournaments, and I'll have Rob on hopefully next week. Again, we're going to talk about some more baits, and I'll let Rob fill you in on all of his tournament schedule. But I want to talk about his next team tournament is next Saturday, October 20th. I'm going to try to be out there and see you guys at the weigh-ins. And he's also going to start his winter team circuit, and that's going to be November 3rd, and that's going to be a whole different circuit, but we'll let Rob talk about that in next week. I'll let you know what Rob has been doing out here in the last couple of days in just a minute. I also wanted to give my buddy Christian Ostrander a big congratulations. He just fished the BAM tournament last week on Clear Lake. He won the tournament, and I think he did something that no one's ever done out there in a tournament. And he had consecutive 3 days in a row, back to back 30-pound plus bags. Unbelievable weight. I think it was 92.5 pounds or so, 94 pounds that he won with a 3-day total. Congratulations, Christian. I know I am filming today. It's Wednesday morning. I know Christian is out here on the Delta now. He's got a guide trip that he's out, and I'll probably hear about how he did a little later in the day. I don't have that information right now, but I will say that Christian is out back on the Delta. He's going to be guiding out here for 2 or 3 weeks. So if you want to book up a trip with who may be the hottest bass tournament angler in California, you want to hit Christian up. He's the guy. And I'll tell you, if somebody's going to find some big fish out here on the Delta or find fish at all, he's the guy that's going to do it. He's going to be out here for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So don't miss your chance at getting a chance to fish with Christian. And I'm going to hope to have Christian on, and he'll talk about, I really want to talk to Christian about how he won that tournament on Clear Lake, and I want to really get some questions put into him on if he was using forward-facing sonar or not. I've got a lot of questions for him because I know on the Delta Christian doesn't use his forward-facing a whole lot, and I just wonder if that helped him out there. But hopefully look for that interview with Christian Ostrander coming up. So let's get right into the this week's report. And like I said, I have not been on the river, so I am going to be out there tomorrow morning. Next week I plan on fishing 3, 4, 5 days a week. Hopefully I'll find some patterns that are going on, at least for me, so I can let you guys know about them next week. But first of all, let's talk about stripers. And I got a report from my buddy Eli, the NorCal angler, and he had been doing really well on stripers up till the time the heat hit. He was getting, good numbers of fish. He's still getting fish through the heat wave, but he was only getting 5 or 6 fish per outing. He's fishing on the Sacramento River. He's fishing up around Liberty Island. He's catching most of his fish on swim baits. Now, as soon as that heat front moved in, he seems to think that the stripers moved out of the area, the upper Sacramento and the Liberty area back down around Pittsburgh. He was getting water temps somewhere around 68 as we had that hot weather. The temperatures moved up to about 72 degrees for Eli. He said the fish that he's getting now, they look like the resident fish. He can tell by the color of them. And those bright, white, shiny fish that he was getting 10 days ago, a week ago, they're not so much in the mix. He seems to think they moved out back down around Sherman Island, Pittsburgh, maybe back into the bay. He also has been looking at the reports from what's coming in from the party boats on the bay. They're limit fishing now for stripers. So it seemed like as the fish started biting in the Sacramento River, the bite died off for the party boats down in the bay. As those fish, kind of died off here in the Delta and around Liberty, maybe they moved back out to the bay. I don't know, but that's Eli's take on what's going on with the striper fishing, at least around Liberty Island out there. Now, I've had lots of reports in the last week that the striper fishing had died down in the central Delta. Not a lot, not a lot going on, smaller fish, so on and so forth. But as of today, last night, I started getting reports that the stripers were back on the bite. I was able to talk to one angler this morning out here at Paradise Point. He's saying that the last couple of days, the stripers have been actually doing pretty well here in the central Delta. So you just have to keep up with those guys day to day. And as I talked to Rob Cloutier this morning, we're kind of thinking that this 100-degree temperatures behind us, we're going to have some cooler weather, we're going to have some rain. So the water temperatures that we had been seeing in the Delta that were around maybe 65 to 68, they popped up to 72 and 74 while I was away. I've missed all this, but I'm getting reports on it, so I'm feeding it back to you. As that water temperature starts to drop from 72 to 74 with this next maybe rain and cooler weather, everybody's hoping that it's not only going to kick the stripers into gear, but it's also going to kick the largemouth bass into gear. So with that, that's what's going on with the stripers. It's definitely worth getting out here on the Delta, but it's a day-to-day thing for stripers. Ted, he has been on the central Delta. His bite has decreased from last week. I told you Ted was just slamming him. Ted is getting a short bite window in the morning, a short bite window in the evening. The size of his fish has decreased. You've got about a half an hour right at sunup where he's been doing pretty well. Every other day he'll get a nice 4-pound fish, but you're getting a lot of those 2.5-pound fish in that morning bite. As soon as that bite decreases, Ted starts to fish worms and throwing jigs in the base of tules, and it's kind of a grind after that. So that's Ted's version of what's going on. Rob kind of backed that up when I talked to Rob this morning. They were, his reports coming into the shop are there's people catching a lot of fish. It's just hard to get the bigger fish. It's just a junk fishery. People are getting them on crankbaits. They're getting them on jerk baits. They're getting them on worms. There are some bigger fish coming in punching, although Rob said the last couple of days he's been looking for those bigger fish on a punch bite or frog bite, and it's been a slow bite for him, and the fish that he has been getting hasn't been any bigger than what he's been getting on the reaction bites. So take that into consideration. The reports that I've been getting from around the community are fairly slow, but the last couple of days it seems to be on an upward trend. So I'm thinking that this week it's going to be some pretty good fishing. The weather's going to be up and down. There's going to be some fronts coming in, and I think that you're going to see there's going to be some dramatic changes day to day, maybe even hour to hour, as you know, the rain comes in, as the cloud cover comes in. This next week is going to be really interesting, but I think there's going to be a real good opportunity to catch some good fish. But most of the reports towards the 100-degree heat days, they were very tough. A lot of people weren't catching fish. As that, you know, the last day, it seems like people are starting to get more fish. Today, I think the temperature's dropping down to about 90. Tomorrow, it's going to drop down to 80, and then that's going to be Thursday, Friday. This weekend's going to have some unsettled weather, but let's hope that that kicks the fishing into gear. And again, all of my reports from people that are out catching fish around the Delta, it's all junk fishing. They're catching them on every conceivable tide, with every conceivable bait. So I'll let you know what I'm going to do when I go out tomorrow and what I'm going to do for the next couple of days to try to put a pattern together. If I get out early in the morning, I'm going to be throwing one of two baits. I'm going to be throwing a bubble walker, or I'm going to be throwing a bubble walker or a whopper plopper. If there's no breeze at all, if you can look out behind me today, we've got a little breeze. If there's no breeze at all, I'm going to start with maybe a Rico, something that's a little smaller, a popper, and something that's is going to be a little more finessey. If I got a little bit of wind, I'm going to start off with the bubble walker, and I'm definitely going to try a whopper plopper, but it's going to be the smaller size. I won't start with the 130. I'll start with the 110. I'm going to start off in the morning at islands, and I'm going to look for smaller islands so I can fish around them real quickly in that half hour of change of light bite. That way I can hit a couple of the points, I can hit a flat, I can hit the deep side of the island, and I want to fish that real quickly. If I do not get bit, I'm going to immediately go to the drop-offs and fish that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet of water. I'm going to be throwing a jerk bait, I'll be throwing a crankbait, and probably a spinner bait. I'll fish that really quick. Those will be on a short leash. If I can't get bit with those reaction bites as I stay out during the course of the day, once the sun comes up, I'm going to go right to a jig, and I'm going to a drop shot, and I'm going to fish around the base of tules. Hopefully I will put a pattern together somehow. I want to catch fish. I'm not necessarily looking for big fish. With that being said, I will always have a frog rod and a punch rod on deck, and when I get to those areas, if I see some duckweed, I'm going to throw a frog in there. Rob has been getting some big blow-ups in the evening with the frog, but he's fishing close to cover but in open water. Take that as a tip from Rob. But I think most of the better fish that I will be expecting will be coming with either a 6-inch worm or a jig or a punch jig. I want to be fishing right at the base of the tules. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to stick to that philosophy for at least 2 or 3 days and hopefully put a pattern together. If you guys get something going, let me know what you guys got going, and we'll maybe get the word out if you don't mind sharing that with some people. So with that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank all you guys who have sent in all the reports. Continue sending in those reports, and I promise you I will be out fishing the Delta hard this week. So thanks a lot. Good luck, guys. See you guys on the river.